So as an occupational therapist, we're very much interested in what people do and the meaning and approach to what people do. And often I fully recommend and support exercise. I've run a gym for the last 6 years as part of my job. So it's very much part and parcel of what we recommend in St John of God's. And if we look at what the evidence suggests, or proves, should I say, that it's a combination of the physiological, psychological, and social benefits and how they all sort of interconnect. But also, recent trends would also suggest that group-based training is also really beneficial, and outdoor or green gym training would be particularly beneficial for our mental health. There are no upper limits, though, and quite often I meet people who sort of describe a kind of philosophy that, well, it works. So the more I do, then obviously the more benefit I'm going to get. And it's a kind of a trap sometimes that people fall into, because it can be interconnected with all those other things that are going on in people's lives. And if they're doing a lot of training, that's great if you can balance that with proper recovery. And because exercise is like any form of stress, there's a certain amount that we need. We couldn't imagine no stress in our lives. We couldn't imagine a life without movement. It would put us at risk of all sorts of diseases, including difficulties with our mental health. But up to a point, there is this tipping point where if we continue without a recovery, we tend to get into kind of diminished returns territory. And sometimes, because of a person's approach to exercise, what's maybe driving their behaviour, that might be a little bit different. They decide to push and push and push. And then it becomes something that is less helpful, because recovery is the key. And I suppose this is an area that is maybe less researched than we could have done. And I know in the military and in the sports world, it's very interesting. How do we actually put people under a lot of pressure and bounce back quickly? What is it that we can do, that we can live this very busy lifestyle, be very physically active, be busy parents, have a stressful job, maybe I'm commuting as well, and stay in great shape? And recovery is what it's all about. And it's this kind of rest and renewal relationship, looking at these kind of four domains, not just as sources of energy, but also needs, that we have physical needs, emotional needs, and psychological and spiritual needs. So if we look at spiritual needs, they are what is of highest value in our life? You know, what's our purpose? And the combination of being in touch with them and also having that physical energy, which drives from obviously exercise, from our food intake, from rest and sleep. How these all sort of interconnect to have a kind of a holistic, well-balanced life. But then there's an elephant in the room. And, well, there's actually a few elephants in the room, but I think for one elephant is that we all struggle. Life is very stressful nowadays, and we don't actually like to go there. We don't like to sit with our distress. And we find any number of imaginative ways, any avoiding, suppressing, numbing what we perhaps feel. And sometimes people will perhaps overuse exercise as a way of avoiding what they need to do. It becomes more about control, because it's one thing that they can control. They might not be able to control their emotions, but they can control how they approach exercise. So it's about our relationship with activity, the meaning. What is it that we're getting out of it? That's particularly as an occupational therapist, that's what we're constantly being interested in, being curious about with our clients. Is it joyful? Are they getting those benefits? So if I'm with a client. I was with a client yesterday, and they do a lot of training, but they're exhausted all the time, and it's not fun. And but yet there's a drive there and a push there. And a conversation was more in the lines of, well, what would it be like to slow down? What would it be like to rest for a week? And what would it be like to relax? Instead of burning off, can I use exercise in another way to calm down and self-regulate? Is it all about burning off energy? There's a lot of evidence from areas of the world known as blue zones where people are living longer, living more actively, and also the rates of mental health problems are lower, or the recovery from mental health problems are much quicker. And obviously one part of that ingredient is that they're much more physically active, but their lives are also more balanced. There's also programs in the States, the Therapeutic Lifestyle Program, run through the University of Kansas. And again, they use exercise, but they also use other things that, as long as we have them as well, then they support the busy lifestyle that we're going to live. And a lot's been written about Ronaldo's sort of sleeping patterns, but one thing is for sure is that he actually sleeps a lot. He rests, and he lives a very active lifestyle. He's in great physical shape, but yet he's received quite a lot of training about how we can recover, and understanding the rhythms and cycles and energy fluctuations over the course of the day, and how he can support his training through sleep. And the little box there is a picture of a sleep coach called Nick Littlehays, who's also done some training with some local rugby teams. Can we just be with ourselves? I think for most people, exercise is a positive thing that whenever they do it, they feel better. But then there are some people, particularly that we would work with in the hospital, who maybe the relationship is a bit different, and they use it as a way perhaps of avoiding being with themselves and being with their distress. And the positive feedback that exercise has given them has begun to change, and it perhaps has become a little bit more negative. Because we need to at least develop a relationship with ourselves. So I suppose that screening that Louise was talking about, the psychological version of that would be, who am I? What gives me joy? What annoys me? What winds me up? And how do I relate to what's happening in my world? Where is my source of stress? And I guess if I'm spending all my time training and getting fit and working just on my physical development, perhaps there are other things that I'm not spending as much time on, and that can begin to affect how our other areas of our life, including our relationships. There's interesting work done by a researcher in MIT, Sherry Turkle, and her big message is we need to be able to spend time alone with ourselves. And if we can't, we'll end up repeating the same issues, or we'll always struggle with feeling lonely. So the message is, yes, of course, physical exercise is great. It's one of the best things you can do for your mental health. If somebody could give you a pill that did half the things that exercise could do, it would probably be the best seller. But it's about looking about how we relate to exercise. What is the role? And is it giving us joy? And are we feeling a sense of pleasure and getting the benefits? And I guess if we've got all those in check, then it's working. And as an OT, my message is, if it's working, keep doing it. If you're not doing enough, do a little bit more. Thanks very much.
I think it was a great opportunity to listen to different experts in different fields. I think the combination of bringing Peter in from the mental sort of field, with Louise from a physiotherapist, to John from an orthopedic, I think the three combination actually give people an insight into how each different professions see each different challenge which you have of physical health and mental health.